I'd love to get a little tactical with you here because for someone who might be at a space, they're like, you know what? I've been doing events or I've been thinking about doing events. They've been okay, but I also look at the things that have been produced, whether by Mindvalley or by other major transformational brands, and they seem to have that sizzle, that spark, that wow factor that I just can't seem to recreate in my own events. And I'd be curious to know, when you work with clients and they might have that kind of issue, what are some of the easy things we might want to add in our thinking process that would allow us to have that extra magic?
Yeah, definitely. So one that we already touched upon is connection. How can you weave in more opportunities for people to connect with each other at your event, after your event? How can you connect them even before the event? Really focusing on asking yourself the question, how can I create more connection and community at my events? And really focusing on that. I think you will get tremendous value out of that. Another thing is looking at your budget for your event. Like if you have razor thin profit margins, you don't have so much to reinvest into the experience, into, creating those magical moments, whether that's through decor or entertainment or a big like wow opening moment, or, better AV production. There's so many things, but I find that when you have a healthier budget, it just really helps to elevate the experience because you have money to invest into it, right? So I always encourage my clients to really look at the profit margins that they're having and to not be afraid to increase those and to get strategic in terms of how can we have better profit margins? How can we better reinvest some of the funds into the experience itself? So healthy budgets, focusing on connection. Yeah, those are a few that come to mind right away.
I have to share a memory, and I don't know if we're still working together at this time or not, but I was taking a leadership role within the events team at Mindvalley, and I remember the first things that I always wanted to do was to raise the price of the events. And there was a lot of resistance actually from the team. They were like, oh my God, like if it gets so expensive, like we don't know what we're going to do. But at the back of my mind, I always knew that if you can raise the prices, then your budget becomes so much bigger that you can actually spend on some more extraordinary things. And I think one of the most magical moments that most people speak about, I think you still hear stories about, and I know you had a big role to play with that, is Costa Rica closing party. I just remember.
I always hear about this one.
So that's interesting because that has to be 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And, I still have memories of a giant sloth DJ booth, massive fireworks, glow-in-the-dark drums. And this is stuff that people think about, talk about amongst each other's 6, 7, 8 years further. And it's very interesting because it could seem like a very expensive expense, yet you've created something that allowed to have referrals, better marketing, and then the brand still gets, call it impressions, years after. So how did you go about to justify these kinds of expenses? And have you seen this kind of long-term ROI?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I occasionally still get messages about that event, 8 years later, which is just crazy. And I really feel like that was a spectacular event in terms of like the conceptualization and all the extra touches, the artists I was able to find on the ground there, the art, it was really incredible what we were able to create at that event. Sorry, what was the question? Is it? I got excited thinking about the event.
We all got excited. We're all having flashbacks of this amazingness, but no, to get back to it was to understand like. I'm telling you, and we're having a conversation about this. This is like long-term benefits that happen from doing this experience. It costs a lot of money. And so do you have any ways of quantifying the ROI or that you explain to people how this can bring long-term benefits?
Yeah, I mean, I think when people are talking about your event or your brand years later, it's one of those things where it's hard to quantify with numbers or something like that. But I mean, again, if you look at the statistics of how many repeat attendees you have at an event, I think that's a really good metric. Like, are people coming back for more? Are people, then enrolling in being a member of your community? Are people coming back and now bringing their friends and their spouses and, their families, which happened really, really often? Are people then buying other products of yours? Like all of these things, I think, help measure ROI, what kinds of amazing testimonials are you getting out of it? What kind of amazing photography, videos? I think in AFES, we really invested heavily. We had not invested in the sense of finances, but like with intention of really having epic photos and videos that help sell future events, right? And then everybody's like sharing them, and it just really creates all this buzz and momentum of people sharing it. So absolutely, I think that when you deliver epic experiences, you create loyal brand fans. You just do. And that will come back to you in a variety of ways, And not only that, but I really truly believe it has like such a beautiful ripple effect on the world, because you're impacting not only the people that are attending your event, but those people go back to their communities, and then they're doing something different. There's been so many people that have been inspired by the events like that I've organized or AFES that then go create like their little mini events. And so the ripple effect is really incredible. And I find the people that work with me, like, yes, profit is of course a priority, but really, like, these are people that want impact. They want to make the world a better place. That's what really drives them. And I think, like, again, events are just such an incredible vehicle for delivering connection, transformation, a beautiful experience, and one that lives on and on and on, like beyond what we can even understand. I've often thought to myself, like, I actually have no idea the impact that I've had, because I think it just ripples on and on, which I just find to be really beautiful.